the international investment community from a mine development point of view. It's endowed with some fantastic infrastructure advantages. We own 85% of the project and we operate it. We have a very motivated and invested board and management team that we've all been working together for a long time. And it's a very accomplished team technically and includes people from some of the world's major porphyry copper miners and explorers. This has all been a result of the application of not only our experience and our skills, but some state-of-the-art geophysical techniques which have been developed over the years and are now broadly responsible for some very large discoveries through the world. So we've made a very rich discovery. It's rich in gold and copper, and our drill hole intersections are some of the longest in the world, and we've outlined a cluster of these targets, 7 of them. We've only drilled one, and we're about to go on to the best one, Aguanaga. So we have 823 million shares on issue and about another 62 which would come from the conversion of some convertible notes which are out there at a higher price than the current share price. We turn over about 1.7 million shares a day, have 2,000 shareholders, and our real focus is getting dollars in the ground, and as we get closer to a resource base here we're getting more and more institutional interest, and we're basing the emergence of this company on discovery-based re-rating. So frequently Discovery, one of these systems, gives you a $1 billion re-rate, and Imperial Reservoir and Intrepid mines are examples of those discovery effects. The reason we went to the Andean Copper Belt is because it's the most prolific copper producer in the world from a regional point of view, 48% of the world's copper. It's on a structure that goes right around the Pacific, the Rim of Fire, and it hosts a number of very large copper and gold mines. Ecuador has been largely unexplored as a result of being politically inaccessible for many years, and also being covered in cloud jungle and thick soil profiles. So the new geophysical techniques can see through this. There are discoveries in the area, and the Ecuadorian government is encouraging the development of a mining industry there. This part has never been properly explored, and this discovery is what we call a virgin, so no one's ever had a go at Cascabel before. I want to tell you about copper first. It's a metal that is mainly driven in demand terms by the installation of electrical facilities in emerging nations and populations around the world. So as the world urbanises, we need more electricity. It improves people's lifestyles, and hence we need more copper. Germs also don't like copper. There are more and more antimicrobial applications for copper, and that's also going to drive copper demand in the future. At no time like the present have we seen such a disparity between the price and demand for copper in the world, and that is something which is also, we think, indicating that there will be a very strong copper re-rating. All of this boils down, in Rio's view, to the world needing a new Escondida, one of the world's largest copper mines, every 15 months. And we certainly think there's an opportunity for that sort of outcome at Cascabel. So there it is on the Andean Copper Belt. We particularly like Ecuador because it has the thick, well-endowed Carnegie Ridge floating in underneath the Andean plate. That's why these deposits are big and they're rich. They bring in lots of metal, and the cracks through which the porphyries are emplaced are very large. In Chile, you can see these deposits from space. They're high and they're dry, they have no cloud, vegetation or soil cover on them, so they're easy to find. In Ecuador, however, they're covered in cloud, jungle and soil, and it makes them harder to find, and that's why there aren't so many there yet. And that's borne out by this chart here, which shows the preponderance of very large porphyry projects in Chile, the blue ones, and a couple of little purple targets there at Junin and Cascabel in Ecuador, and we expect those to grow into very large deposits like the Chilean ones. And it's because of this visibility factor. We really like Ecuador because Rafael Correa, a very popular president, is instituting changes to encourage the mining industry, and that has been sufficient to bring in Lundin Mining, and they have spent $240 million so far acquiring and commencing the revamp of the Fruta del Norte project in southern Ecuador. There have been a number of important fiscal and regulatory improvements delivered to date, and some of these are summarised here, particularly in respect of taxation and accounting treatment for mining projects. This is an old OPEC nation. They used to make a lot of money from oil. That has gone into infrastructure, health and education. Accordingly, it's a very well-serviced country from an infrastructure point of view, and the population enjoys a very good standard of living, and that's helping to endorse the support for the development of a local mining industry. And here we can see hydropower stations on the right, well-sealed road network in the centre slide, and Deepwater Pacific ports on the left, and that is providing the basis for a very important mining industry that's emerging in Ecuador. The grades here are significantly higher than they are in Chile. It's largely because of the effect of that Pacific Plate feature, the Carnegie Ridge, and because of the hydropower stations, we have electricity which is significantly cheaper than in Chile. So more gold and copper and lower cost to extract it, and a very supportive government, and certain infrastructure and capital advantages in Ecuador makes it a great place to discover and establish a mine. I mentioned the roads before. They are indeed very good. This is 6 lanes for about 2 hours north of Quito on the way to the Cascabel project. And here's Cascabel, located about 3.5-hour drive north of Quito. It's en route to Pacific ports at San Lorenzo and Esmeraldas, and it's well supplied by local water and power installations, hydropower installation. They're only 25 kilometres away from the project. So in comparison to what you would have to go through developing a project in Chile, you could be saving up to $3 billion by developing your project in Ecuador, and that's something we're looking forward to. We've spent about $30 million already on the discovery and acquisition of our interest in the Cascabel project through the local subsidiary Exploraciones Nova Mining SA, or ENSA, and we also own 11% of the junior company Cornerstone, which holds the other 15%. So we own most of it, we operate it, and it's going very well. This is all largely because of the incredibly coherent and cooperative team and very experienced team now that we have been working together in the Solomon Islands. We have local, very skilled Ecuadorian geologists running the project, and I want to draw your attention particularly to Jason Ward there, who is known colloquially as a remote operations specialist. He laughs at that because this is the easiest project he's ever worked on. We call it a bitumen prospect because you can drive there pretty much on a sealed highway all the way. Steve Garwin, second from the right on the lower row there. He's ex-Newmont, cut his teeth at the Batu Hijau mine, which is one of Newmont's copper cash cows in Indonesia. And he's not a rich man yet, but he will be because he keeps investing his fees from this project into shares in the company. So He's very strongly committed to this project, and his experience is a great endorsement for it. We do these drill holes with a man-portable rig. There's no helicopter required to move the rig around. We unbolt it and move it by hand. This takes about 3 days, and it's helping to keep the operating costs down. We involve the local community in all of the safety and environmental aspects of the project. And we started here in 2012 by flying aeromagnetics all over the entire 50 square kilometres. That resulted in the discovery of about 7 different targets. We found one already at Alpala. It was the first one we drilled, and that was because the porphyry outcropped there. There's 6 to go, and the best of them all, Aguanaga, we haven't even drilled yet. We then followed up with soil sampling to outline the geochemical patterns, and that led us through the smoke from the magnetics into the fires where the geochemical signatures are, and particularly the molybdenum signatures, which you see on the left-hand side there, show us where the porphyries are fertile and gold and copper bearing. There's copper everywhere. If you were going to take any notice of the copper anomalism, you'd be mining the whole 50 square kilometres. We then zoomed in at Alpala using electrical geophysics, and this picks up the sulfide mineral distribution in the altered host rock. And here we see a picture of the conductivity halo around the magnetic porphyry cores. We've only drilled Alpala Central there. We've barely touched T1, and we haven't yet drilled Alpala Southeast or Cristal to the southeast of that. They are particularly interesting targets because they have outcropping high-grade copper mineralisation known as bornite at surface. The interesting thing about Alpala is that even though we have drill tested it as deep as 1,839 metres and find that the mineralisation is rich and still going down, that the porphyry outcrops, and that's why we focused on those ore grade intersections there in the beginning. Can't tell you what that's about. We are finding extensions to the mineralisation to the southeast. This is the encouraging, very high-grade stuff from hole 12, and the magnetics supports a very large target there extending to the northwest and the southeast. We are using all of the information to start to construct a three-dimensional model, and that's exactly what we're also finding at Aguanaga. Now, Aguanaga is particularly exciting because it looks like the giant Alumbrera cash cow in Argentina, and it has a geochemical pattern which is very similar to some of the world's great productive copper porphyries. Interestingly, we also found the high-grade mineralisation outcropping at surface, and here it is here. And note the purple mineral there, that's bornite, 60 to 70% copper, and that's why we're so excited about the open cut potential at Aguanaga. These drill hole intersections place us in the top 20 or 30 of all drill intersections in porphyries in all history. These mines are hundreds to billions of dollars, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. We only have a market cap of 12 million. As we find the bornite zone, we're going to get more and more valuable and more profitable from a modelling point of view. We'll start with a small tonnage, very high-grade underground mining operation, and that will be afforded by these sorts of rocks, very high-grade copper, even higher grade gold. The gold exceeds the copper by more than 1 to 1 as the copper grade goes up. And it's starting to look very similar in profile to the giant Wafi-Golpu project in Papua New Guinea. I just want to show you this revolving three-dimensional model. It starts by looking at the molybdenum and the pattern of veins at surface outlined in green, and then decreasing grade shells as we go round the ore body, looking at it now from the southwest looking northeast, and it's going to rotate anti-clockwise, I believe, and you'll be able to see just what this ore body looks like as we come up through the project and slice through the ore body looking northwest through the high grade sections there. So it's starting to take shape. We reckon we're about 6 months to a resource there. There are high grade development options there. There are some bulk grades there that are richer than Newcrest mines in New South Wales. That makes this an outstanding project from a large scale development point of view, and the topography there affords placing a decline in underneath both Aguanaga and the Alpala project. This is going to mean we can take out around about 500,000 tonnes of ore of very high grade ore. Will facilitate building that tunnel, and we'll be able to scale up operations from there. So this is in a couple of years' time. By the time we get there, we'll have a very large, very rich resource project on our hands. So over the next 12 months, we're spending about $10 million on drilling and the studies necessary for a pre-feasibility study. And that will involve lots of metallurgy and engineering. And particularly, we'll be following up the Aguanaga target and applying our blueprint for discovery of rich copper gold ore bodies in northern Ecuador to the rest of Ecuador, and that will help provide us with project diversity. So thank you for coming to hear the SolGold story, and if you have any questions, please come and talk to us at our booth later. Thank you.